What's up, and welcome to the Uncle Cyborg Show, where we talk about the biggest things in gaming and our favorite things about video games while keeping it rated E for everyone. I'm Matthew Hot Dog Eater, and joining me today is Super Nolan Man.
I've got banana all over my shirt because my kid doesn't know how to eat.
We got the Hyrule King,
Got no banana all over my shirt because I don't have a kid.
and you can forget about Bo the Dork Ages because today we're talking about Doom the Dark Ages.
Oof.
Burn.
All right.
All right.
Do you want me to just jump right in with it?
Yes, I forgot to direct it. I'll jump cut. All right, Nolan.
Jump cut.
Leave it in.
You've been playing a little Doom the Dark Ages. Why don't you give us your thoughts and impressions, first impressions, discussions, what you like, what you don't like?
Absolutely. So people know I am a little over a third of the way through the game. I am on mission 8 of 22. And just to give a little bit of background on Doom the Dark Ages, this is a prequel to Doom 2016. So in 2016, they rebooted the franchise. And 2016, they had Doom. 2020, they had Doom Eternal. And this is the third entry in that new series that does act as a prequel. And a lot of people are coming into this expecting this to be a return to form. That form being old school Doom, that original trilogy of Doom. Basically, in the lineup to this, lead up to this, they were describing it basically, hey, in Doom Eternal, you were like a fighter jet. In Doom the Dark Ages, you were more like an iron tank. You're heavy, you're strong, but still fast. Really emphasizing power over the more acrobatics of the last game. And that last game was very controversial. It hit really well for the people who liked it, but they felt that it had alienated a good portion of the fan base because of how far they'd gone in one direction here. And this was to try to bring a balance to these kinds of things. So basically, if 2016 was like your regular run and gun, Doom Eternal was kind of jump and shoot. They said with this one, this is kind of stand and fight. And while I see where they're coming from with that, I disagree because I think that would go against the idea of its return to form. And I feel like in a lot of ways, this is a return to form.
It's
but
a
I also feel that in a lot of ways, still to be said, or still to be seen. But in a lot of ways, this is a good step forward and a good reimagining of Doom, in my opinion. So let me kind of talk about what's happening. So if you haven't seen the trailers, this feels very much like a fantasy, like traditional fantasy setting mixed in with very tech-heavy post-apocalyptic kind of stuff going on. Lots of things that just feel very alien. Like I feel like I'm watching Prometheus. Prometheus. There you go, Prometheus. Or something like that, where I'm seeing a lot of the future tech of the alien universe. And this forms a very cool aesthetic to me. I dig this setting so much that I want to see more. I want to see a genre based around very medieval, classic fantasy settings mixed with this hyper futuristic tech. It just blends together so well, or at the very least, they have blended it together so well, in a way that I have not seen other people do. It's pretty sweet. So let's talk about what you're doing in the game. Doom. If you've played one Doom, you know how they all go. You are just shredding through and blasting monsters all over the realms. And in this panel, I'm pretty sure I have by far the most experience with the franchise, having played the original 4 Doom games, plus playing a bit of Doom 2016, and then here playing Doom the Dark Ages. I think, Bo, we've played a couple times, Doom 1 and 2.
Yeah, I've played the older ones, like the arcadey ones, and
Mhm.
then a little bit of Doom 64, but not very much.
Okay.
I've never
Yeah.
played one Doom game at all.
Oh wow.
I've
Yeah.
never even thought
So-
about playing before. Never even crossed my.
Yeah. So with Doom, you were
No.
getting the quintessential power fantasy charged first person shooter. If you played a
Yeah.
first person shooter campaign, whether it be Call of Duty, Gears of War, anything like that, you have a little bit of an idea what to expect, except in Doom, it's very frantic. You're constantly moving. If you're standing still, you're dying. And that is still happening here. In my time with Doom the Dark Ages, I feel like I have to be moving around more than I have in other games. And that's not to any discount of the game. This is actually a good thing. It feels like I want to keep moving around, and I feel like I'm being rewarded for continuing to move. Because this game is tough as nails if you want it to be, but
Mhm.
I feel like the difficulty is really sweet. Now they have their classic array of difficulty options. I've been playing on the standard difficulty. I can't think of what they call it, but they basically have a story mode, their normal mode, which I think is called Give Me Pain. And
Give me
then they
days.
have like yeah, then they have like, Give Me Doom, Give Me, Nightmare, whatever. They've got a lot of difficulties where some of them include things like permadeath. And I've found that this normal difficulty is really sweet. My favorite thing in games is when I feel like something is difficult without having to die a lot. And I cannot count the amount of times I have come up to encounters and looked at my health bar and seen that I literally have like 5 HP left. And I'm like, I just got to go in and smash this enemy and hope to get health out of it. And sure enough, grabbing that health to give me enough to keep the battle going. I cannot count how many times it's happened. And literally at 5 HP, like I know
Up.
at least 6 different occasions I looked at that screen and I said, "Yep, 5 HP again." Which is I wonder if they've got something in the game that's like a little limiter that's like, okay, you got hit with something, let's leave you with 5 HP left so that you have a chance to fight for this. If they do,
Probably.
brilliant, because they haven't said that that's a thing, and I if that's what they're doing, I love it. I adore it. That is fantastic. In terms of deaths, I actually went all the way until a couple missions ago. I finally had my first death in the game, and so that's what I'm on. I'm 8 missions in. There's like a 2-part siege mission, and that first part of the siege is where I finally died, and I actually died twice on that level, maybe 3 times. I died 3 times on that level. But what's cool is you get these little sigils around the map that if you pick them up, it will give you another chance to fight. So instead of going back to the last checkpoint, you basically get like a second win sort of thing where it will recharge, not your shields, but it does recharge your health, and
Okay.
and you get to basically keep on fighting instead of having to go back, and then you lose that one. I believe there are 3 to find on every level. So when I went through 3 of them, I was able to still find more in that level. So, I was like, okay, if I do, get absolutely thrashed again, I do have this to fall back on. So I haven't actually like gamed over and had to go back to a checkpoint. Um, and I'm not mad about that. Like
Yep,
I
that's
think the
good.
difficulty works really well here, and it has a great range of accessibility options here. That start out based around um, the parry window in the game, because that's the new thing, is that in Doom you've never had so much as a shield. You've not had any defense options in any Doom game prior.
Yeah.
Now I guess I haven't played a lot of Doom 3 or Doom 64. Those are the ones I've only played a bit of. So I don't know if later in those games you get them, but
I don't
classic
think you
Doom,
do.
you do not get any kind of defense options in there. I know Doom 3 is the one I always wonder about, because that's kind of a survival horror kind of thing. So I don't know if
Mhm.
that happens at some point, that you get some more, defensive type things. Doom 3 was an interesting one. But anyways, so with this game, yeah, you've got parries now, and that seems like it would change up the formula for a lot of things. But let me come back to that in just a moment to talk about this accessibility set. So I can do a lot with accessibility here while keeping the default gameplay difficulty the same. So I'm playing on normal mode, and I have a lot of options of what I can do. I can increase or decrease how much damage is being done to me, increase or decrease how much damage I'm doing, and by a pretty significant amount. Um, I will. I have no problem admitting that I don't like when enemies feel spongy. So if you ever give me an option to avoid that in games, I'm gonna do it. So I upped my damage like it moves by pretty big amounts. So I think it was like 25 or 50% additional damage I'm doing, which is not by any means insignificant. But I feel like whatever amount I did, again, like 25-50% additional damage, so basically doing 125 or 150.
You want to be fighting enemies, not other Doom guys.
Yeah, basically. yeah. I want to be able to shred through these here. So I've done that much, but you can also increase your parry window. You can increase your dodge window and things like that. And I think that's pretty sweet. I feel like the parry is already super generous to begin with, that I actually shrunk the parry window because I was like, I'm literally just spamming the button and I'm parrying things this way. So I actually shrunk that window down quite a bit. Pretty nice accessibility range in terms of the actual gameplay there. And there is the auto target, or let me rephrase.
Like assist.
Auto lock. Is that thank you. Aim assist. That's what I'm looking for. Aim assist, which is kind of like, depending on who you ask in the first person shooter genre, is a very taboo thing to talk about because nobody wants to admit that there is aim assist in every game, even if you're using mouse and keyboard. And in this game, the aim assist is a little bit overcharged, but I think it is very appropriate because you are supposed to be continually moving, and if you're nonstop moving, it's going to be really hard to hit targets. But it is very forgiving in terms of that window.
Aim.
Yep, and if I need to, I could turn it up even more. Like this is just the default aim assist that I have on. There's an additional aim assist boost that I have turned off. That if you flip that thing on, it's basically like you just keep your gun rolling and you just move across the screen.
So like makes like on rails type of thing.
Basically. Now I don't have that turned on. I don't want to play that like that way. That way's not fun to me. Like that becomes just trivial at that point. But for somebody who's
that's
like,
for the reviewers, I
you're
think.
like, man, I just
story mode with the aim assist.
but it's there for people who need that. So if you come up to a section where you're like, man, this section is just kicking my butt, and you want to turn on that extra aim assist, you can, because you have giant crowds of enemies. It is vast and it is crazy.
How good does it work when there's like a crowd of them? Is it like constantly like, or do you just shoot at the one and then it swaps over?
It would just aim at whoever was closest, basically.
So like if one came up, then you would automatically just like, I guess but you weren't using that one, so.
So let me phrase it this way. I say that I am let's see here. Honestly, I would say that if I am within 15 to 20 pixels around that enemy, it's going to hit that enemy.
Okay.
Which is pretty good. Like part of me is like, man, is it actually even more than that? Is it closer to 50 pixels? So if you're looking at a screen that is, 1080 wide, like mine is, that is pretty significant. Like that is a 20th of the screen if we're looking at 50 pixels there, so that's why I'm like, I don't know if that's right. So I feel like 20 pixels is about right, which is like, that's pretty forgiving. It's not a lot, but it works. I think it works very well here, and I'm pretty sure you can even turn that much off. So you could turn that off
Wow.
completely, and then you have to be precise. But I think that the way that they have done this aim assist is actually super beneficial for it. So let me walk you through a combat encounter here, and this will also talk about the new setting of this game. So Doom, you're typically going through corridors. Every here and there, you'll have some large open rooms. But in Doom: The Dark Ages, you are coming up on actual battlefields. Like, I
Nice.
will come in and I will find an army ahead of me, and I actually have to whittle down an army to be able to fight the leader of that section there. There'll
Oh,
be like a morale bar that pops up, and I have to, before I can damage the general, basically there, I have to whittle down the forces around, and shrink that morale bar. And I am whittling down, like, you are almost taking out every enemy. Like, there's some major enemies on the field, like, you absolutely have to take those out, and then you have to take out a good amount of the fodder as well. But I'm coming into these sections, and I'll come into this widespread, and there will literally be like over 100 enemies there.
Oh,
It is
Kingdom
crazy,
Hearts 2
and
mob encounter.
it's wild. It's wild, and I love it because, like, Doom has enemy spam throughout the series. But to this level, I feel like because of how open they have made these areas, it actually works very well because I don't feel like there's a dense wall of enemies around. It's just, this is a battlefield now. I'm not going through corridors, I'm not, I'm not trying to, fight my way through, like a ship or something like that. This is just actual war happening here. And that's kind of the theme of the game. Like, this feels like you are fighting literal armies now. Um, and taking apart, like, you feel like you are a force of war coming in there. And it's pretty sweet.
Yeah, that's fun.
So with so much happening at once, how do you decide what to do? And because you have your options of what you can shoot, you also have a shield that is very diverse in its array of abilities. With your shield, you can parry, which is, of course, new because just having a shield at all. With its block, it's kind of a partial block. It'll block for a little bit, but it runs out really quickly.
Yeah.
But what is really there for is it is there for two combat related things. One is the parry. Anything that is green coming at you is parryable, and that includes like melee attacks as well. And so anytime that I see that green pop up, I see the little arrow come up on my screen, I'm turning in that direction, and before I even see it, I'm hitting that L2 to try to parry it. Because I'm like, I know it's got to be close to me here.
Yeah.
And then, uh, of course, you can also throw your shield as well. So if I see that there's a giant enemy coming my way, I'm going to throw my shield at that, and that shield has a shield saw on it. So as I throw it at the enemy, it stuns these giant enemies there, and it kind of holds them in place for about 5 seconds. And that entire time, it's dealing damage on them. But if I can zoom in and charge them, I can start doing some heavy melee hits or something like that, or I can hold them long enough that I can get a bunch of headshots with like a supercharged weapon of some kind. And it has been really sweet being able to put these together. But that green parry symbol has been kind of the story of this game and why I'm really enjoying this, because I think there's still a lot of thought to how you have to do this now, but it trains you very well, I think, in being able to break this down. Because on top of that, you also have these shields that enemies will have that are like these blue kind of cybernetic sort of shields. And when you chuck your shield at those, or you chuck your shield at their shields, it will actually hit one and it'll bounce to everything else that is a blue shield. And if there's enemies between those, it'll chop up those enemies as well.
So what
So
you're saying
it's
is you're Captain America.
it feels like it. It's pretty dope. Because again, that shield saw is always whirring around. So when it cuts,
Yeah.
I mean, it's slicing through things.
does it like bounce
And then
between
if you
enemies
have,
ever?
yes, it does. So
Nice.
if you have the enemies with the blue cybernetic shields, it'll bounce between them. And if there's any enemy between them, it'll just fodder enemies. It'll just chop right through them. It'll still go through other enemies, but it just does like little chip damage.
I'd pay good money to see like
But, I
two
mean,
big guys and it's like bouncing between their heads like dun 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 dun.
No, so to give an example, I'll walk to an area there, and there'll just be like 6 of these dudes standing together, coming forward with their shields. Because again, you're fighting armies here; they have battle type tactics coming forward towards you. So they're all holding their shields up, coming towards you like this, and you'll just send your shield at them, and just in a second, it's just and you just see them all double over in half. And if you have another group that's nearby, once it's done with them, it'll get shot over to that other group and chop up people between. Like, I will throw my shield and sometimes take out like 20 enemies.
You have to look
that's
to
an
get it
extreme
back.
example of it. No, it
Like
comes
so you
back
can just throw it, turn around, like fight stuff, and then it'll just like come back to you, and then you can just keep fighting. Or do you
Well,
gotta, like...
here's the thing. I have never clicked the shield button and the shield not suddenly be in my hand.
Okay.
So I will chuck it
Oh, so it's
somewhere
quick.
and I
Yeah.
will pull it back up and it'll stop doing whatever it was doing before, but is just suddenly in my hand ready for me to use. Like, I've never been like, oh, I can't parry right now. It just returns to me from wherever it was before instantly.
Or you got multiple.
Which is very
Super fun.
video gamey. But Doom is video game the video game.
Yeah.
So I'm actually loving this. So, but yeah, so if I see that those blue shields, I know, cool, I'm going to be chucking this over there. If I see kind of these pinkish sorts of shields, then I know that I need to shoot a bunch of fire at them, and then I can throw my shield at them and cut those up as well. So there's a lot of color use to let you know how you need to take on these encounters, because you are constantly moving. You don't really have time to think about it, and this color coding is a brilliant way to keep you moving and keep that combat flowing. It has been so sweet, especially because, again, these battlefields are sprawling, this more open-ended nature, and I can take things on in sometimes any order I want. Like, there was one thing where they were like, yeah, we just need you to basically close 5 of these portals and defeat the enemies surrounding them. And I could take them on whatever order I wanted. But also, as you go through these giant battlefields and giant areas, you have a lot of pickups that you can get in terms of collectibles, and also upgrade items. And this being able to find collectibles and life sigils and stuff like that I alluded to earlier, to my understanding, this is also in Doom Eternal and was an addition there. And with this, they're well hidden. But what's very cool is that you have a map that shows you literally everything, if you want to do it that way. Now, there's not a mini map to guide you around, like to keep open. So you literally have to, anytime you want to see, oh, where is this thing? You have to pull open the map and you have to take into account, okay, where am I facing right now? So when I turn off this map here, I know I can turn around and face the correct direction for this, because you can't really be looking at it on the move, which to me is really annoying. I want that mini map there, but I understand that would take all sense of, intelligence out of it. But hey, if I'm in the middle of shooting a bunch of things, I kind of want it to be that way. So I would love that mini map there. I understand why they don't have it, but again, I would really love that mini map, because there is a lot to collect in this game. It's all very attainable, and there are some things that you actually do have to think about, and you have to kind of look at your map and be like, oh, how do I get there? How do I, because, maybe it's on a different level, vertically, and you're like, okay, is there like a place where I can jump down or across a gap or something like that? Because there is a lot of running and climbing in this game. There's times where I've had to jump. I mean, I've jumped what feels like over a 200-foot gap and just barely made it onto a little section on the other side where I'm like able to climb up. It's pretty sweet. Now, I feel like that was a lot to just kind of throw out there. So to end on the combat side of things, I like this array of weapons. The only one I don't care for is this mace that I haven't upgraded it yet, but there's like a mace that like is like attached to, I think it's attached to a gun. It's kind of hard to tell exactly what's happening. But like there's a mace I can shoot out at enemies and pull it back.
Oh, so it's like a chain and then you pull it back.
Yeah. Or actually, no, scratch it. I'm thinking of two different things. So there's a mace that I can actually use as a melee weapon, and then there's another thing that is like a mace. It's like a ball and chain sort of thing, and I can shoot that ball at things and bring it back. I actually love the mace. I switched out my fist for the mace as soon as I got it, because it's got a couple things that are a little more dynamic than just your hands, because it'll kind of switch up what it's doing depending on context. But it also it breaks through armor specifically, and because I'm saving a lot of my melee for armored baddies anyways, it just makes sense. But the weapons all throughout, a pretty sweet array of things. Most of the guns are new. I mean, you have some stuff that are still very much like what they've always been, just a little bit switched up. The Doom shotgun and the super shotgun.
Yeah.
It's all still here. I only have one or two weapons left to unlock, because you start out with literally just the shotgun, which not unusual. But the way that you're getting this, I feel like the spread is a lot longer than it usually is. Again, I'm into the second act, and there's still a couple weapons I don't have. I feel like the BFG has got to be here somewhere. If you're
Probably.
If you're not familiar with what that means, it's big friendly gun.
Actually, I
that's
do know
it.
it's in the game because I heard that it is. I won't
Good.
spoil it for you.
Okay, yeah. I figured it has to be it wouldn't be a Doom game without the BFG. So, but yeah, it's been a good time. The last couple things I want to talk through is, and these are going to be really short, is what everybody saw in the trailers. Is what is it like to pilot a 30-story mech? You literally just walk through everything. You were just a thing of destruction. Like these places I was walking on earlier, I'm literally just smashing them as I walk by. So people in my own army, people I'm supposed to be defending, I'm walking straight through these things. They're
Stepping
just
on them.
um
Pardon me.
and it's
through.
not yeah, and granted, they're not still there. These are all instance things. So far I've only been in a mech twice. And when you do it, it's a pretty short thing. You're very slow moving. Even your sprint is cool. Now I'm actually walking instead of staggering forward. But it's it feels very much like a mini game when you do it, because it really is just okay, this light is coming up, just dodge this direction, and what it really feels like to me is a series of real-time QTEs, QuickTime events. QuickTime events, if you're not familiar, if you've ever played Uncharted or something like that, and you're in the middle of a cutscene, you just have to click this button
Resident Evil 4.
as many
I
times.
hate
Yeah,
those,
stuff
man.
like that. Yeah.
They always
Um,
pop them up when you're not expecting them.
Yeah. So stuff like this is how QTE should be done, because that's basically what you're doing here. Is you're coming up to things and it's all in real time. It's not going slow motion for you, but it is just cool. Just click this button at the right time and you're going to move around the way you're supposed to without feeling like you're just hitting things in a cutscene, because you do have a little bit of you do have to make sure you click the right button, because nothing's popping up on screen for you. You're just seeing what the other enemy is doing. You're like, okay, am I supposed to parry here? Am I supposed to dodge here? Am I supposed to do my attack here? And it really is just a game of watching these slow titans coming at each other, in a very remedial version of Punch Out. It seems like. I don't love those sections, but fortunately they're never very long.
Yeah, that's
so
not kind of
when
slow.
I do them, when I'm doing them, I'm I'm enjoying this enough for this little, I'm only having to do it a couple minutes. Sure, I like this. It's goofy and it's hilarious. I like that.
After
And
you
then
win the fight, does the
dragon,
head pop up?
off. That's Rock'em Sock'em.
Yeah.
The dragon, you have the cybernetic dragon, which is, it looks like a dragon, except the wings are all very clearly laser wings. And you have a gun coming out of its mouth or something like that. Or maybe it's a Gatling gun is on top of it and I'm using it. It's hard to tell. The dragon, I think, is a lot better, but a lot of people have been talking trash about the dragon. I think the dragon is really dope. Get on that dragon and enjoy those sections because it never feels like they last long enough. It feels like as soon as I'm getting into a rhythm on there, that I'm having to jump off, do something else, and then get back on my dragon later. With the dragon, you can do almost like these dogfight kind of things. It's not as intense as that because they're not going all the way up around you and trying to get back at you. But it is like this, like instead of going towards my target, maybe instead I just want to chase down this enemy that's flying off, and I want to take them down and get some extra materials and things like that. With that dragon, I'll say that I do love the dragon sections. The only thing is, it's really janky the way you switch over between these. I think that the transitions can be done better because they feel like it feels like somebody came into this and was very intentional with the way they did those transitions. They're like, "Sweet, I'm crushing it." I don't feel like they crushed it. It feels a little bit weird. It feels like they wanted to feel like you're getting on super fast. They are trying to make it feel seamless, but it feels like they just try to disguise these really hefty seams because they are definitely there. So that's my own one drawback about the dragon. But again, these things, if you don't like them, they only last for about short sections anyways. The only time I really spent with the dragon was like I would basically like it was my way of getting from place to place, and I would do some cool things with it. I actually really loved the combat with the dragon because it is more of this like cool. See what color this thing is coming at you? Is it something that you're supposed to dodge or parry? You'll get to the right direction and things like that. Rather than parry, it's actually dodge or perfect dodge, because if you get a perfect dodge, you will do an automatic attack on it. And certain colors are perfect dodgeable. So you have to dodge. You also have to dodge the correct direction at the right time to be able to get the special attack off to be able to break shields and stuff like that. It's been pretty sweet. As far as story goes, nobody needs to worry about the story in this game. It's nothing to write home about.
Yeah,
but the
Jim games
presentation
never have a good story.
Yeah, the presentation is top notch though for what this story is. The story is not a whole lot. It's just like I mean, it's if you've ever played a Halo game, this is a step below Halo. um, but the story is just kind of there. But the presentation of that story is really great because they'll have these moments with different characters where you're like, you know what? Actually, I kind of dig this character. This character is being cool right now. I love what they're doing. But kept using the word blockbuster event coming into this game. And you know what? I feel it. I was talking with Bo about it earlier, and I was saying, these late 2000s fantasy movies that were coming out that were really high budget, but the story just wasn't there for them. That's what this really feels like. And
big dumb action.
because because I'm really enjoying big dumb action, these cutscenes are actually hidden pretty well. I dig it. The story doesn't have to be anything special for these cutscenes to still feel like, okay, I'm doing something cool here. I do have a couple downsides to it I'm going to just quickly shoot through. I don't think the sound mixing is all that good in this game compared to other ones. They have had to switch their big sound engineer / composer for this, and that's has caused some strife. I think the music is still great. I just think that the sound is not always on it. In sections, it works really great. Some of in combat sections, it's mostly good, but sometimes it'll sound like the music comes in really weird, and it's like, oh, is there like a radio playing in the room next to me instead of like this just being background music? Or certain sound effects don't hit the same, like when you're crushing something. A lot of the visceral attacks I feel are lacking, but there are other things where the sound is perfect coming in. Like if you come running into an arena and you're jumping off a high ledge and you hit the ground, you let out like the supersonic blast that will just destroy enemies in a radius around you, and that boom is so satisfying every time. It hits so hard. It's just not as consistent as you want Doom to be, because Doom has always been at the forefront of sound mixing when it comes to gunplay and violence. But anyways, this is exactly what you expect Doom to be, but it is the most Doom of all of these new Doom games. I actually love this new direction. I think that they've found a good way to keep the combat flowing and keep you flowing with that combat instead of you having to fight against the grain and figure it out all too much. They train you really well. I'm still trying to get the hang of switching between my weapons. And because of that, there's a lot of weapons I'm just not using right now. Or a lot of times it just like switches
That's
me over
enough.
when I run out of ammo on this one. I'm like, okay, I guess we're using shotguns now. Um, there's some more that I would love to go into, but I'm not going to take all day on this. I'm going to before I close this up here, I want to open it up for any Q&A.
I got one question.
Yes.
Would you so someone like me who hasn't played Doom, and this one actually kind of interested me a little bit when we were talking about it back in December, I think.
Mhm.
Would you say this one out of the ones that you've played, you say this is a good entry for someone who hasn't played, or do you think maybe going back and playing like Doom 2016 or something would be better?
So in the build up to this, they said that Doom the Dark Ages was going to be the perfect entry for new players,
Okay.
and I agree. Um,
All
I
right.
think that they found the best, not even necessarily flow of combat, because if you have the time and patience to get into it, from what I've seen and the little I have experience of Doom Eternal, the way that those encounters are so finely tuned and created is going to be hard to beat. But for just letting you kind of do your thing and not have to think about it too much, this gives you all the information you need to and kind of trains you to react to things a certain way, make it really easy to identify weak points in the armies and things like that. Um, I think that this is definitely a great entry point. Um, I always do have my complaints about the Doom franchise and the some of the content that
Yeah.
it has. I think I've said it before. Like in Doom 2016, I dropped that
Yeah,
game
you did.
like a sack of potatoes at the end of the first level because they were like, "All right, we're gonna create a portal to hell," and I was like, "Not in my house," and I got installed. Haven't had anything like that because the quote unquote demons in this game are literally aliens. Like there is just a
Yeah.
planet of these things out there, and we refer to and the human players will refer to these groups as demons, but there's multiple factions and things like that. Like it's very sci-fi. Um, and so
Probably a
I
better
don't
way to
have a
go.
problem with it,
Or
except
interesting.
that every once in a while they bring in imagery.
Ah.
I hate that like I have pentagrams showing up in random places and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And like on a loading screen and stuff like that. I'm like, come on, guys, what are we even doing here? Like, if you
Yeah.
commit
It's not
fully to
even
these
needed.
being aliens and then leave that imagery out of there, because otherwise, like this is more of a return to form of the older games where it wasn't like where they weren't treating it like like you're fighting like actual like demons. Like these are
Yeah, you're not fighting
aliens
Hellspawn, you're
that
fighting the
we're it basically,
monsters.
yeah. And that's what this feels like. This feels like you're fending off an alien invasion. It's just a very brutal, very yeah, very brutal alien invasion.
Yep. Pretty cool.
All right, Mr. Bo.
The only question that I had was, and you kind of answered it already. Do you have like a
Mhm.
favorite weapon
So
out of all the ones you've done?
I've got a couple that I like. I'm gonna talk through both of them. One is you saw it in the trailer where he's got this machine gun like thing, where you see him load a skull into it, close it up, and you just hear the skull go,
Oh, I
and
saw
then he
that one.
starts
Yeah,
shooting out bone shards at things.
that's pretty
That
cool.
weapon is perfect for crowd control. If you literally have, because I will walk into a, if I have to go inside a building, I know somewhere in that building, I'm going to walk into a room where I literally do have 60 people in a room like the size of my house.
They all just turn and look at
And
you.
having 60 people
Wow.
right there, yeah, they all just turn and look at you. So I switch over to that weapon. I really am terrible with weapon names. I want to say it's called Annihilator or something like that.
Oh,
But
that's
I
okay.
switched over to that and I literally spray across, and it is so perfect for fodder control. It does nothing to bigger enemies, so A with consequence. But if I really just need to get a bunch of fodder out of the way, I mean, I would go across the room and
That's
everybody's
fun.
just gone. It's so cool. I love it. The other weapon that I really like is kind of a like energy laser sort of thing. And I've really been enjoying that. That's the one I've been focusing on upgrading the most right now because I haven't been hunting down, completionist style, hunting down all the resources because you do need to upgrade your
Yeah.
weapons and stuff. And I feel like it takes 2 upgrades for your weapon to feel the way that it should. But once it does feel that way, it's like, sweet, I'm really firing on cylinders here. So at this point, I'm just trying to get each of these weapons to level 2, so to speak, do the first 2 upgrades on each of them, and just focus that. But that is a lot of gold, and I am not going for a completionist run of this. I did for the first couple levels, and then I was like, okay, this is taking forever. So then I just started mainlining, and then if I see something, I'll go for it, but I'm not like trying to clear out the map like I did with the first couple levels, which if I was somebody who had the time to do that, like I had the time to drop 30 hours on this game, 100% I would go for everything because it's fun to do, but it's not as fun as just getting on with it. So
Totally.
so anyways, those are my go-to weapons, and I really enjoy. I don't think there's a weapon I dislike outside of that little ball and chain thing. I'm sure when I upgrade it, it'll be better, but man, and the super shotgun just always feels good. You gotta love the super shotgun.
It's true. Yeah. Cool.
All right, so far I'm gathering. It's got the Uncle Cyborg seal of approval so far.
Yeah, I might
We'll have to
come in
see
and
if
do
it
like an actual
fumbles.
buttoned up review later on, but I mean so far
Yeah.
I'm enjoying this, and I had put in my notes from that Xbox Developer Direct back in like January, February that this was my dark horse for the year, and I think it is. I think for a lot of people, like by the time we get to the end of the year, I think it's going to be overshadowed, but I mean this game is really firing on all cylinders for the Doom people, for the single player FPS campaign dudes. It's everything that you want it to be. I don't think anybody's going to walk into this and be like, wow, this is like the next thing in games. Like, this is changing everything. No, it's just doing everything that you want out of a Doom at the best it's ever been.
Wait. Ask for more than that.
I had one last question. With its naming
Mhm.
of difficulties, does it do like the Wolfenstein thing? Obviously not for this. Like the Wolfenstein, the lower difficulties, it's like big baby mode, and then like
Nothing like
the
that.
end is like essentially Giga Chad mode. Do they make it sound cooler the higher you go? Like,
oh, it does sound. It sounds more. It literally just sounds like torture. The further along that you go, like the one that I'm on is literally like the second difficulty. It's the standard. It's the normal one. It's give me pain. Above that is story mode, and you go down. It's like give me torture. Give me hell. Give me
Erase,
annihilation. And then there's like tear me apart or something like that is the last one. I'm not good at remembering names of things like that, especially if they only show up the one time. But it is like they ramp it up and it gets really silly the further up in difficulty you get.
Alrighty, that's going to do it for this week's episode. Remember, you can be a part of what we're doing here by liking and subscribing and answering our question of the week. This week, we're asking you, what setting would you like to see the Slayer in next?
Smash
Bros.
Just
Brothers.
kidding.
Well,
Yeah.
hey,
We went the same way.
hey, they already have the person from Animal Crossing.
There's a Mii
Isabel.
costume. Yeah.
Might as well have him too. All right, I'm Matthew Hot Dog Eater. That's Super Nolan Man. That's Hyrule King. We'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye bye.